What if Mike Tyson had never been convicted? Mike Tyson's career was already on a legendary trajectory when he was convicted in 1992. At just 25 years old, he had already been the youngest heavyweight champion in history and had dominated the division with an aura of invincibility. But what if that conviction had never happened? Without losing crucial years of his prime to prison, Tyson could have remained active, continued evolving as a fighter, and further solidified his place as one of the greatest heavyweights in history. His resume would have included monumental clashes that either never happened or occurred much later when he was past his prime. Would he have surpassed Muhammad Ali's legacy? Perhaps. At the very least, he would have left no doubt that he was the most dominant heavyweight of his generation. Had Tyson never been convicted, his career in the 1990s would have played out very differently. Instead of serving 3 years in prison and returning in 1995 with diminished skills, he would have continued fighting from 1992 onward. This means he would have faced the best heavyweights of the decade without interruption, creating dream fights that boxing fans never got to witness in their ideal form. 1992 to 1993, the first Holyfield showdown. In the real timeline, Evander Holyfield became the undisputed heavyweight champion in 1990 after defeating James "Buster" Douglas,
for his pure brute
the same
strength
man who
and
had shocked the world
determination.
by knocking
Most
out
guys were
Tyson. By
pretty much
1991,
intimidated. They
Holyfield
lost the fight before they
successfully
even got
defended his
hit.
titles
Most
against
guys.
George Foreman and
I
Burt
knew
Cooper, setting the stage for a long-awaited clash with Tyson. Tyson vs. Holyfield 1, 1992. In this alternate reality, Tyson remains active and fights Holyfield in late 1992 instead of going to prison. The fight is one of the biggest pay-per-view events of the decade, pitting the relentless aggression of Tyson against the disciplined technique and heart of Holyfield. Tyson starts aggressively, overwhelming Holyfield in the early rounds with his signature head movement and powerful combinations. However, Holyfield, known for his resilience, weathers the storm and begins countering effectively in the middle rounds. Tyson wins via TKO in the 9th round after landing a devastating uppercut that forces the referee to step in. This victory reaffirms his status as the most feared heavyweight on the planet. With Holyfield defeated, Tyson is once again the undisputed heavyweight champion. But new challengers are emerging. 1993 to 1995, the rise of Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe. By 1993, the heavyweight division is entering a new era. Riddick Bowe has just defeated Holyfield in a classic fight, while a young Lennox Lewis is rising through the ranks with an Olympic gold medal pedigree. Tyson vs. Riddick Bowe, 1993. Riddick Bowe, a towering and skilled heavyweight, claims the WBA, WBC, and IBF titles after defeating Holyfield in late 1992. A unification fight with Tyson is inevitable. The size difference is a major factor. Bowe, standing at 6 feet 5 inches, uses his reach advantage to frustrate Tyson early on. However, Tyson's relentless pressure and superior inside fighting allow him to turn the tide in the later rounds. Tyson wins by unanimous decision after 12 brutal rounds, proving that he can overcome a size disadvantage against an elite big man. With Bowe defeated, Tyson is at the peak of his career. However, a new challenge is on the horizon, a rematch with Holyfield and a collision course with Lennox Lewis. Tyson vs. Holyfield 2, 1994. Holyfield bounces back from his loss to Tyson and regains momentum by defeating Michael Moorer. The rematch with Tyson is scheduled for mid-1994. This time, Holyfield adjusts his strategy, focusing on clinching and frustrating Tyson's rhythm. The fight is much closer than the first, with Holyfield landing sharp counters throughout. Tyson ekes out a split decision victory, but Holyfield earns his respect by pushing him to the limit. 1995 to 1997, the Lennox Lewis era begins. By 1995, Lennox Lewis is emerging as the biggest threat to Tyson's reign. The British-Canadian powerhouse possesses a lethal jab, tremendous size, and a tactical mind trained by the legendary Emmanuel Stewart. Tyson vs. Lewis 1, 1996. Context: in the real timeline, Lewis and Tyson didn't fight until 2002, when Tyson was past his prime. But in this alternate reality, the two meet in 1996, with both men in their absolute prime. Lewis uses his jab to keep Tyson at bay, making it one of the most technically intriguing fights of Tyson's career. Tyson, however, closes the distance in the later rounds and lands a thunderous left hook in the 8th round, knocking Lewis out cold. Tyson wins via KO in round 8, further solidifying his legacy. Tyson's reign continues, but a third fight with Holyfield and a rematch with Lewis loom on the horizon. 1998 to 2000, the final chapter. By 1998, Tyson is older but still dominant. However, Holyfield, never one to back down, demands one last fight. Tyson vs. Holyfield 3, 1998. Instead of the infamous bite fight that occurred in 1997, this trilogy fight is a clean contest between two warriors. Holyfield, knowing this is his last chance, fights with supreme determination. The fight goes the distance, but Tyson's power and aggression earn him a unanimous decision win. Finally, in 1999, Tyson gives Lennox Lewis a rematch. Tyson vs. Lewis 2, 1999. Lewis, having learned from his mistakes, enters the fight more prepared. This time, Lewis fights a masterful tactical bout, using his jab and movement to frustrate Tyson. After 12 grueling rounds, Lewis wins by unanimous decision, signaling a passing of the torch. Tyson, now 33, considers retirement but fights a few more times before officially hanging up the gloves in 2001, with a record of 58-3, 53 KOs. Tyson's personal life without prison. Without the prison sentence, Mike Tyson's personal life takes a vastly different trajectory. The 3 years he spent incarcerated in reality were formative. He emerged from prison angrier, more reckless, and financially unstable. However, in this alternate reality, where he remains free and focused on boxing, the absence of such a profound interruption allows him to maintain control over his career and personal development. A more disciplined and focused Tyson? With no prison stint to derail his career, Tyson remains deeply immersed in the sport. One of the most significant factors in his real-life decline was his separation from Kevin Rooney, the trainer who had helped perfect his peak Bowe boxing style after the death of Cus D'Amato. In this timeline, without legal troubles and distractions, Tyson keeps Rooney in his corner. This ensures that he retains the defensive head movement, combination punching, and relentless conditioning that made him such a destructive force in the late 1980s. Staying with Rooney also means that Tyson avoids falling deeper into the toxic environment of Don King's influence. In real life, King exploited Tyson financially and encouraged reckless spending, leading to Tyson's eventual bankruptcy. Here, a more stable team ensures that his earnings are better managed, preventing his notorious financial troubles. Without prison forcing him into isolation, Tyson's personality and decision-making evolve differently. Though still brash and outspoken, he matures into a more disciplined and composed figure, realizing that his true calling is in the ring, not in the chaotic world of celebrity excess. Marriage, relationships, and stability. One of the biggest questions in this scenario is whether Tyson's personal life becomes more stable. His first marriage to Robin Givens in 1988 was a disaster, marked by public controversy and accusations of domestic violence. In reality, Tyson's post-prison years saw him enter volatile relationships and struggle with personal demons. Without the prison sentence, Tyson has more control over his life, but that doesn't necessarily mean he avoids personal turmoil. Given his aggressive personality and the pressures of fame, he might still struggle with relationships. However, without the emotional scars and resentment built during his prison time, he may be more open to a lasting, healthier partnership. Perhaps he remarries in the mid to late 1990s, but this time with a partner chosen in a more stable phase of his life, rather than in a whirlwind of fame and excess. Alternatively, he might choose to remain single, dedicating himself fully to his career, as fighters like Floyd Mayweather later did. Fame and public image, more controlled or still controversial. Tyson was always a polarizing figure, even before his prison sentence. His raw, unfiltered personality made him both a media sensation and a lightning rod for controversy. In this alternate timeline, he likely remains an outspoken and unpredictable character, but without the baggage of a criminal conviction, his public image is significantly different. Instead of being known for legal troubles and financial ruin, Tyson is seen as a dominant, long-reigning champion who overcame personal struggles through discipline and boxing. He still has moments of controversy. His explosive temper and unfiltered speech are part of who he is, but they are more akin to the occasional outburst of a competitive athlete rather than the downward spiral of a man in crisis. He becomes a respected figure in the boxing world much earlier than in real life. Instead of the troubled Tyson, who found redemption through personal reflection in the 2000s, he follows a more controlled and focused path, gradually transitioning into a mentorship role for younger fighters. Life after boxing, a true ambassador of the sport? By the early 2000s, Mike Tyson's career begins to wind down, but in this alternate timeline, he controls his exit from the ring with dignity, unlike in reality, where he fought far past his prime due to financial desperation. Instead of struggling with debts and enduring humiliating losses to lesser opponents, Tyson retires after one final defining mega fight, most likely a rematch with Lennox Lewis around 2001 to 2002. A respectable retirement, leaving the sport on top. In this scenario, Tyson enters his mid-30s as a still capable but aging champion. The heavyweight division is evolving, with Lewis emerging as the dominant force and younger contenders like Vladimir Klitschko beginning their rise. Rather than clinging to past glory, Tyson makes a calculated decision to retire while still being respected as an elite fighter. His farewell fight is a massive event, possibly against Lewis, allowing him to exit the sport with a performance worthy of his legacy. Unlike in reality, where he continued fighting for paychecks, here, Tyson steps away with financial stability, thanks to a well-managed career and wiser financial decisions. He avoids the painful decline that tarnished many great fighters' legacies, such as Muhammad Ali's ill-advised final bouts or Joe Louis's tragic return to the ring due to money issues. A smooth transition, Tyson the mentor and commentator. With his finances in order and his reputation intact, Tyson explores new opportunities outside the ring. While still possessing his raw and sometimes controversial personality, he channels his energy into becoming a respected figure in the boxing world. A commentator, Tyson, known for his deep understanding of boxing, becomes an insightful and entertaining analyst for major networks like HBO or Showtime. His unique blend of first-hand experience and brutal honesty makes him a fan favorite. Rather than becoming reclusive, Tyson embraces his role as a mentor. He works with young heavyweights, passing on the lessons he learned from Cus D'Amato and Kevin Rooney. Fighters seek his guidance, and he becomes a respected corner presence for up-and-coming talents. Following the example of George Foreman and Oscar de la Hoya, Tyson enters the business side of boxing. His promotional company organizes fights, and his influence helps shape the next generation of the sport. Tyson's influence on the next generation. Instead of the chaotic and troubled years he faced in real life post-retirement, Tyson in this scenario builds a lasting legacy outside of fighting. He remains a beloved figure in the sport and an inspiration to young fighters. Many young boxers, particularly heavyweights, look up to him as the ultimate warrior who never let distractions ruin his career. He teaches the importance of discipline and technical mastery, ensuring that his signature peekaboo style remains relevant in modern boxing. He becomes a figurehead for sportsmanship and perseverance, helping guide fighters away from the same pitfalls he once faced. Cultural impact, Tyson the global icon. With a more stable post-boxing life, Tyson's brand extends beyond the sport. He capitalizes on his fame in a more controlled way, avoiding the bizarre and often desperate business ventures he pursued in real life. He becomes a regular in documentaries, boxing shows, and even Hollywood, making well-placed appearances rather than becoming a novelty act. He writes a compelling autobiography, detailing his experiences without the same level of scandal and regret that defined his real-life memoir. His story is celebrated not as one of tragedy and redemption, but as a cautionary tale of how discipline, the right mentors, and self-control can lead to long-term success. Legacy. The greatest heavyweight ever? Had Mike Tyson never been convicted and remained focused on boxing, his post-fighting years would have been vastly different. Instead of being remembered for financial ruin, erratic behavior, and a chaotic late-life resurgence, he is honored as one of the greatest champions ever, someone who not only dominated his era but also left a lasting impact on the sport. Without the lost years, the post-prison decline, and the financial ruin that plagued his real-life career, Tyson's place in boxing history is undisputed. His record remains untarnished by unnecessary losses, and his dominance through the 1990s cements him as the heavyweight of the era. His unmatched speed, power, and technical prowess make him the greatest knockout artist in history, perhaps even the true successor to Muhammad Ali. In this alternate timeline, his name is mentioned alongside Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, and Rocky Marciano without any asterisks or what-ifs. Instead of being a fighter who wasted his potential, he is remembered as one who fulfilled every bit of it, solidifying his legacy as the greatest heavyweight of all time. His impact on boxing remains strong, shaping future champions and keeping his legend alive long after his retirement. Ultimately, this version of Tyson is not just a boxing legend, but a true ambassador of the sport, a man whose greatness inside and outside the ring is unquestioned. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to our channel.